Hey, kia ora. Helen Bramsey coming live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. It has been an awesome day here. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1405. Yes, and I guess this will be, and day one of the 90 days of self-love. And if you were watching last night, and if we had any internet issues last night, please forgive me. My Wi-Fi connection was like a dial-up speed, and it was praying hard that it would hold up during the thing. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the playback yet, but I'm hoping there are no glitches in there, that everything recorded fine. But one of the things that we were talking about was, the summer of self-love, and Chris issued me with a 90-day self-love challenge, but she didn't like the word challenge, so we decided to call it 90 days of self-love. And so she's going to come back in 90 days, which I did a little cheat sheet. I put the next 4 months on a calendar here, and I wrote out all of the show number days. So like today's, episode 1405. So I wrote them all out and figured out day 1494, because that's the day that she's going to come back for the 90-day report, which is going to be the 3rd of September. So it'll either be the 3rd or the 4th of September. We're going to get with her, get it on her calendar. So it'll be somewhere around there. But day 1494 will be on the 3rd of September. So it should either be that Sunday or the Monday. Anyway, so it has been a very, very busy day here today. We had a really good start to the day. Then I was supposed to get the internet was supposed to be here at like 10:30. At 9:30 the doorbell rang, and the guy was here, and I was like, "Oh, you're a whole hour early." And he goes, "Oh, I'm not the installer." He says, "I'm just putting the wiring in." I went, "Oh, okay." And so he went outside and did his thing to get it from the street up to the house. And he was out there for a good couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours. And I have to tell you, I went out there, I could not see any trace on the ground of where he had dug his little trench to put the cable through, but I could see that he had been there, because there was this big roll of cable hanging on one of the things out there, one of the bits on the side of the house there. And so I go, okay, he has been there, but you couldn't tell on the ground. You could not tell. I thought that is a really cool job that he's done. And then before the installer turned up, and the installer called to say that he was running late, I was like, okay. And so then I'm in the kitchen, I'm getting ready to make a protein shake. And by this stage, I had already emptied 2 or 3 boxes. I've already done like 13 boxes today. That's my record. 13 boxes. Well, I did 15 on Saturday. So I've already done 13 boxes today. And this is how it happened. I am looking for that freaking cable and that remote control for that TV, because today is June 6th. June 6th in 1944 is D-Day. That's the day that the Americans, the British, and the Allies all invaded Normandy. And 79 years ago today. And on this day, I always watch The Longest Day, the movie The Longest Day. It's like a 3-hour and something movie. Might be 2 and something else. It's around the 3-hour mark, somewhere close to that. As you know, even though it is a movie, yes, there's the glamorization and all of that and the Hollywood bits and pieces on it, but it's mainly it's in black and white, which is really cool. But it gives you an idea of what some of these guys went through on D-Day. And what amazes me about this, and if you want to read more about it, go onto my Facebook page, if there's a post there about it. But what absolutely I find absolutely mind-blowing is the number of Americans, British, and Allies that were involved in this program. Then what they call it, Overlord, that were involved with Overlord. There was close to 1 million troops, and they were maneuvering them around. They were hiding them in England. They had these drills that were going on throughout the thing. The Germans had no clue what was going on. They had an inkling that something was going on, but they couldn't break the coding. And they were thinking, oh, yeah, the Americans, they're going to come in through this way. They had this route picked out. They were going to come through here. Nope. They came in, and only one German officer says they're not going to come through here. They're going to come down here in Normandy. And they're like, Normandy? Yeah. But the fact that, back then, they didn't have the internet to rely on. There was no internet. It was all done through radio, through couriers, with notes, couriers running around with notes around the country to get stuff delivered. So it could be a day or two before your instructions were delivered. So you had to allow that time. But the planning, oh my gosh, the planning that went into this was just phenomenal. I mean, you're talking about, close to 1 million troops or 1 million personnel involved in it in some way, be they the support, be they the actual ones landing, be they the ones flying, because it's done by air, land, and sea, was the attack. And it was just even when I watched the movie and you see how they did all the currying around and all that, and there was the radios, there was all the Morse code going backwards and forwards and everything else, and transmissions being intercepted and people trying to decipher codes. And I'm just like, it still boggles my mind that they were able to organize, over 1 million people were involved in this in some way, and they were still able to surprise the Germans. I'm just like, that it just boggles my mind. And I'm like thinking about, today they've got the internet and things, and they've got all these, up to the satellites, satellite phones and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that there is any way, if they tried to plan what they planned back in 1944 and tried to plan it today with today's technology, I don't think it would work. I don't. It was just because they had radio transmissions, they had Morse code, they had couriers that would cycle, run, ride horses, just to get messages backwards and forwards. And of course, the courier would get to where he was going and he had to wait for a reply so he could take it back to make sure that they got it. So there were all these moving pieces going around, and they kept the whole thing a surprise. And I'm just like, how do you keep 1 million people hidden in England? Yeah, I know the population of England's more than New Zealand, and they're about the same size. But it's just still, it just boggles my mind, the preparation that went into this mission, the planning that went into it, and all of the pieces came together at the right time in the middle of the night on the 6th of June when they started with the air attacks first. And I was just, the movie, when I watched the movie, yes, it's glamorized and all that, glamorized by Hollywood standards and all that sort of thing with the technology they had when they made the movie. It still astounds me that there were so many moving pieces and they all came together on one day and totally surprised the Germans. It's mind-boggling when you think about it. But it's a really cool piece of history to learn, where you can learn things about leadership from there. You can learn about communication skills from this. And so that's why I like watching D-Day on June 6th. There's certain days I watch certain movies on, and this happens to be the day that I watch D-Day. So I am determined, some way, somehow, I have my Fire Stick, because I have it, not only do I have it on DVD, I also have it electronically as well. So I have my Fire Stick. I cannot find the remote. I have found 3 possible power cords that may work to get the TV running. So I have no remote. I do have my Fire Stick remote. That might work. But as far as volume goes on the TV, I'm not sure how that's going to work. I might have to be manually. I will be the remote. But I have to, as soon as we're finished here, we're going for a walk. We're going to get dinner. I'm going to put the feet on the table because I've got the feet for the TV entertainment system table thing there that's all glass and currently laying on its back, waiting for its feet to be attached. So I've got that to do. The TV already has the legs on. I just have to find a power cord that will work, and I've got 3 possible. So crossing fingers that they work, and then I can plug my Fire Stick in as well. And I do have the remote control for my Fire Stick, so we've got some remote access. And I was like, oh, is that going to work the TV? It should work the TV. We shall see. So then we're going to be watching D-Day. The Longest Day. The movie's called The Longest Day, and it really is, the movie The Longest Day is a who's who in Hollywood. Was a who's who in Hollywood at the time it was created. And I'm just trying to think what year I think it was in the 60s it was done. Hang on, I'm logging into made in 1962. 1962. These are some of the, if you've never seen The Longest Day before, it is phenomenal. It's all in black and white. You've got John Wayne in there, Robert Ryan, Richard Burton, Henry Fonda, Eddie Albert. I'm just trying to think of some of the other names I know. I know Sean Connery's in there. I would tell you, Sean Connery is the character he plays just cracks me up. But they have this huge cast, and it really is a who's who of Hollywood at the time. You know, Red Buttons is in there, Richard Bramer. And I'm just like thinking, you know, it's such a great, not only is it such a great pull together of who's who in the acting world and all of that, but it was just a really great movie and a really great story, you know, of true events. So it's one of the best ones I have seen on D-Day. I don't remember any others on D-Day, but that has always been my staple, The Longest Day. And you see them, you know, the airborne guys, they're going in these gliders, right? And they got to land the gliders. And it's like, man, feet up. And they all lift their feet up off the ground. And their feet are like in spaces between between the people on the seat opposite them. So they've got 2 rows, one down each side of the glider. And the glider, you know, the glider gets taken up and then it just soars, and it's basically going on the airflows and all of that sort of thing as it gets to where it's close to where it's supposed to land. And when as they're starting their descent down, they get the order to put their feet up. So they all put their feet up, and their feet go between the hips of the 2 people across from them, all down the plane. And yeah, and then they land. Some were injured, some were not. It's all good. But it was, you know, there's just little quirky things that happen along the way. And you got Sean Connery in there who just plays a cheeky Scotsman, which is perfect for him because he can pull it off very, very easily. So yes, I've got that coming up tonight. Anyway, back on track. So I'm looking for the cords. I'm looking for the remote. I have emptied like 12 to 13 boxes today alone. I found my cookbooks, which I was super excited about because I found all my favorite cookbooks. There's just one that's I call it the grandma of them all. You know, like you have the granddaddy of everything in cooking, it's the grandma one. And that'll be in one of my kitchen books. In fact, there's one box I am really looking forward to finding because it's got all my writing stuff in it. I found a whole bunch of journals today, and some of them were carry-ons from ones that were in the box, and some of them there's gaps because of those journals are in some other box somewhere. And then I was busy. I thought, I'll go make myself a protein shake for lunch. And so I'm getting ready to do that. Had the cupboard open to pull out the Vitamix, and the doorbell rang. And I thought, oh, that could be the installer guy because it was around the time, that he said he would be arriving. And I opened the door, and there's a guy standing there with one of those edible bouquets. And I love the edible bouquets. The fruit is so fresh, so delicious, so juicy. It is like perfection. And this one was full with chocolate covered strawberries. And I did a live on that earlier today to thank my friend Kathy for sending that to me. And we messaged backwards and forwards about this basket. And she wanted to know. And I said, it probably won't last until tonight. Well, the report so far is we are down 4 chocolate covered strawberries. There's still plenty left. We're down 2 pineapple stems, and we're down, hang on, how many is that? 4, 5, 6. There's a total of 9. And we're down 3 different melon stems. I'm keeping the sticks so I can keep count. But it has been really, I love honeydew melon, rock melon, all of that. So I can just go there and just grab a stem and just have these little 3 balls off that. And pineapple, just so juicy. And I love the fresh cold fruit like that. So it keeps me going during the day as a nice snack. So I am truly appreciative of that bouquet showing up today. And the guy sort of says, oh, I have to get a picture of you holding it. I'm bending down, hanging onto Zeffie's collar so she couldn't get out. And this guy's trying to hand me this bouquet in this hand, and so I'm sort of like going for the top of it. I'll just grab the top of the cellophane and hope it holds. It held. And so Kathy Crow was laughing when she saw the thing. She goes, "Oh my gosh, Steffi's there in the background." I said, "Well, I had to hang on to a collar so she wouldn't get away." So yes, I got 3 boxes emptied this morning. 3 boxes. No, I got 4 boxes emptied this morning. And so yeah, so we did the whole thing with the bouquet and all of that, and I had a shelf space in the fridge for it, and it just slid in nice. I did have to take the edible stick out, but everything else just fitted in there nicely. I did end up making my protein shakes. I still needed the protein. And the guy then showed up, and just before I was starting to work, and I'm sitting here and I've got like everything shut down except for my printer was off. Did I tell you I have a printer again? I got a printer again. I found another one. It was in a box. I don't know who packed the printers, but I went into one box, and the one I've got here, which is a fax scanner printer copier, was upside down in the box. The other one that I found was on an angle in the box. I'm like, these people pack printers very strangely. So I'm sitting here, and I've got like my phone connection is, except for this phone, the other phone was on airplane mode. I forgot to turn my printer off, but I only had open the tabs that I needed open for while I was working. And I was just sort of like praying that everything would hold together. And because the internet is, the signal for the internet is not very strong here, it took me back to dial-up days of, if you've ever had to deal with dial-up, you will know the pain that we had today. And so then he finally says, he says, I just need to get, I said, do I get to name my network and stuff? He says, yeah. He says, give me the name of the network and the password that you want. And I said, I can reset the password later. He says, yep, you can do that. It's not a problem. I'm like, okay. So I gave him the name of the network and the password, and he got it all set up. And he says, okay, now if you can go into the computer and find this thing. And so as soon as that was on, everything was going instead of, it was suddenly like, I feel like I've been reborn. It was like dial-up day had come and gone, and all of a sudden I was on a high-speed internet thing, and I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. So I'd actually forgotten what it was like to be on a true high-speed internet thing, and it's just been fantastic. So I'm all hooked up, hardwired in. My little modem sits right here, and I looked at it and I says, oh, that looks like my T-Mobile mobile internet thing, but that one's got more holes. But it's all hooked up down there, and it's working brilliantly. I got my phones all online. I actually had to go and unplug that on because I kept trying to default to the old one. So I had to go and unplug that as soon as I had the computer up and running. And then as soon as I finished work today, I was like, okay, I have to find this remote control. I have to find this power cord. And totally forgetting I found 3 possibles last night and had them sitting in the electronics box out by the TV. And I went into the bedroom and thought, it's got to be in here somewhere. And I'm just like pulling boxes apart. And there are like 9 boxes in there that are now, well, one of them is full of trash, and not recyclable trash. It's just trash. I got my my shredder arrived today. I haven't unboxed it yet, but it's basically a case of, I opened up one box. It was all brochures. I walked out to the garage. I tipped the whole thing into the recycle bin. It's like, these are brochures from 2018, 2019. I don't need them anymore. Old magazines, that sort of stuff. So, okay, my genealogy stuff I am keeping because they have really good research papers in them. But yeah, it's just been a day of open up a box. Okay, and I've got my trash pile over here. I've got my recycle pile here. I've got my shred pile going. And hey, sweetie girl, come here. Where are you? Oh, there you are. I've got all of that going, and I thought then I can sit in the evening and I can watch TV and just shred. And you shred for like about 15 minutes, I think it is. Then you let it sit for 30 so it doesn't overheat. And then off you go again. So we may do that tonight. I don't know. But it's just a way, and I'm suddenly thinking, this is going to make it so much easier going through half of these boxes, because most of them have got like office supplies in there, all my travel stuff from back in 2019 when I was in the house. And it just all got packed up because I thought, oh, not going to be long before I need to dig it out and that sort of stuff. Yeah, no. So there's a lot of stuff that's just going to be going straight into recycling or sitting in a pile to be shredded and the stuff. So we found, and then I opened one box, and I was like, has this box been emptied already? And I'm like looking at this box, and it was a medium-sized box. That was a good-sized box. And I looked in the box, and I saw some bubble wrap at the bottom. I thought, oh, there is something in here. And I thought, but I just opened this box. Why is it so empty? And all that was in there was a boxed wall clock. And the boxed wall clock has at the bottom half of it has, I should have brought it down here. It was from our game room in Virginia. In the basement, we built up a game room, and it was in there, and it has like a pool stick in there and little pool balls and darts and board games and that sort of thing, and the little window at the bottom, and then the top part's the clock. And that was sitting in the bubble wrap that went across the length of the box, and it just fitted. And I'm like, well, what else is in here? And I don't have a battery for it, but there was this clock. This is a dome clock. This clock, it has a little swingy thing that goes. It doesn't have a battery in it right now. But this clock was given to me by my grandmother for was either birthday or Christmas years ago. And wherever I have gone, I have always found like a mantle for it to sit on. And I replaced the I've got to get a new battery for it. It only takes $1. But this clock was sitting there, and like this piece was off by itself. This piece was by itself, and this piece was in another part of the box. It's just the 3 pieces to it. And I'm like, does it even work? But I don't have my batteries here. They're still over at the RV. So I was really happy to find this clock, and it's just got this little thing here where this just sits on it, and this will just swing backwards and forwards. And then this just goes over top, and there's your little dome clock. And I've had it for years. I can't even remember how old I was when my grandmother gave it to me, and I don't think there's a year on this thing, is there? Oh, actually, maybe there is. It could be a... Nope, that unfortunately doesn't have the year on it. But wherever I have gone, this clock has always gone with me. And it was either a birthday or Christmas, since both happened in December. It's very likely it was one or the other. But I don't remember how old I was when I got it, but I've always had that clock. It's always been going, except when the battery needs replacing. So I was really, really happy to find that too, because it brings back a lot of memories with time with my grandmother in the kitchen. She used to be a chef in the Women's Auxiliary Air Force before it became part of the Royal New Zealand Air Force. And we did a lot of stuff in the kitchen together. She was also very good with woodwork, very good with the garden. And my dad was very good with woodwork, as you would have seen a few nights ago when I was showing you some of the wood that he had turned. But my parents have a table that my grandmother made, and it's a round table, and it's got crossways like this for the legs, and in between each of those crossways is a little table that fits in there. And she made the whole thing. What's up with you? What is it? What's wrong? Come here. Zippy, come. You got something going on. We both got a fright this morning because she'd been outside, and I left the door open like about this much for her to get in and out. Come here, Zeph. Zeffy, come here. Come. Come here, little one. Go look out the window. Is it out the window? Go have a look. And she had just come in, and I was closing the thing, and this pigeon hit the door. This pigeon or dove? Pigeon was flying out, and it banged into the door, and then it went and sat on one of the outside chairs, and then it flew off. And I was just like, that is the most random thing, because it came in under the covered patio and hit the door. So we've had quite a day today. I mean, 13 boxes emptied, clock found, cookbooks found, all sorts of discoveries and stuff going on, and I'm on high-speed internet now. Yay! I cannot tell you how great that feels to be back. Kind of feel like I'm back in the modern times again. But anyway, that's it from us for today. We're going to get going because I know she wants to go for a walk, so I need to go put my shoes on and we'll go out for a walk. And she got to meet 3 new dogs last night. We've been out every night. Every night and morning we go down to the park and walk around there. And there was this huge lab. I mean, it had huge paws on it. And it turned out to be a British and an American mix of labs. And it was a big dog. And so I'm walking along on the path up here. They're walking along on the grass area down below. And this dog kept was on as far as its leash would go, trying to get up to Zeffy. And Zeffy's trying to get down to this dog. So we finally came together and the two dogs got to meet and they just sat there and stood there and sniffed each other. And Zeffy tried to mount it. And I was like, yeah, no, you got the wrong equipment there, girl. She likes having special friends and she likes to mount them and gets disappointed when I tell her she has the wrong equipment. So anyway, so she got to make 3 new friends last night, and I met these 2 girls that were out walking, and they had Oscar, their dog. They were holding on to Oscar because Oscar's got one eye that was completely blind in that eye. You could see the cataracts on it. And we're standing there talking, and they found out I just moved into the neighborhood. So they were the very first people to welcome me to the neighborhood. So I thought that was pretty cool. And they live over behind me, on the street behind me. So yeah, it was a very cool night. So we're going to go out tonight and see who we get to meet tonight. So anyway, go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. And I'll catch you guys back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, Cornell.